Everything that you see around you generates an income for someone. Someone is paid rent, interest, or profit for everything you use or consume. If you were making rent, interest, or profit on top of your wage or your salary, what would you do with it? Probably you'd spend it. If you didn't spend it now, you'd put it in a savings account, an ISA, a pension scheme, so you could spend it later. If lots of different people owned all of the things that you use and consume every day, a bunch of people would have money to spend in the businesses that you work for. But what happens when all of that rent, interest, and profit is paid to a tiny group of people? Do they spend it? They could live like kings, spending tens of thousands of pounds every week and still not burn through a majority of it. What do they do with the rest? They buy up more things that generate an income. And when the economy is growing, producing new assets for them to buy, new productive technologies, new buildings, new raw materials, then they don't need to buy up already existing assets that you might own, things like housing. But if the economy doesn't grow, or doesn't grow enough to absorb all of their money, they start going after those already existing assets, the ones owned by a large number of different people. Which sounds great initially. My house is worth what? I could retire on that. My stocks and shares ISA, my pension, it's gone up massively. I'm rich. But you need to sell those assets in order to realise that gain. And then you don't own any resources. And so you have to pay rent, interest, or profit to someone else to use them. But because the group of families that owns everything is so small, they don't consume as much as 100,000 or 1,000,000 families would if the wealth was more evenly distributed. So what happens to everyone else? First of all, the money you make from working now has to cover the cost of using assets that you used to own. It has to pay profits to the water companies, interest to the bank that owns your house, profit to the outsourced radiologist in the NHS, rent to the company that owns the building your shop is in. That means you have less to spend in the high street or online. Second, because the market for goods and services is reduced as a result of the concentration of wealth and the loss of wealth by the vast majority, businesses make less money, which encourages them to cut wages, to work people harder. Lastly, more and more people do work that is only useful to the very rich. Stockbrokers, wealth managers, investment bankers, corporate lawyers, public relations people, consultants, asset managers, and real estate agents. None of this huge amount of highly skilled working hours produces goods or services for the average person, which reduces the supply of the goods and services that everyone wants and needs. But because these very high earners and their massively wealthy employers use their huge salaries to outbid everyone else for this reduced crop of goods, they push up the price of childcare, private healthcare, schooling, concerts, restaurants, you name it. It annoys them to no end that their high salaries in massively demanding jobs don't offer them significant comfort. And the rest of us are frustrated that we can't afford anything. The government continually tries to lower interest rates to get people spending, which only inflates the currency further. And because the government owns no assets, every time it spends, a portion of this spending goes to someone in the form of rent, interest, or profit, adding to their great big pile of investment capital, a portion of which finds a return in lending to the government, which increases government spending in the form of interest payments, risking further inflation. Inflation, low wages, high cost of living, and a poor government that's getting poorer and can't do anything. None of this changes until we get our resources back.